Today we are going over how to assemble the latest version of BnB Fightstick. We are on version 3, third generation, and it's available on focusattack.com. Let me show you guys a little bit of the overview about BnB Gen 3. So we went with the 3mm top panel instead of the thicker panel that was on Gen 1 and Gen 2. But it lacked the ability to install snap-in buttons because of the thickness of the panel. Next big change is the interlocking sides. We just made it very simple and it's just a lot easier to install. I would say this is probably the biggest change. We updated the side panels to have the ability to install artwork, and that's with the addition of another 3mm panel on the side. Lastly, there's also the 6 God layouts that I've introduced with my other Fightstick brands. You'll see some of the listings populated right now. You might see some updates in the future, but right now we're launching with the matte black plexi kit and the clear plexi kit. And you'll also see what I was talking about earlier with the 6 God layouts being new. We have the 30mm version, the 24mm version of the joystick ones. We also have the stickless version, a lot of the popular ones from my other brands. And then the biggest thing that I want to make sure that you guys know is that all this stuff is compatible with Gen 2. So if you just want to upgrade like the sides, for instance, you could buy the Gen 3 side panels and then get the artwork covers as well. You'll see this, they actually make this really awesome like replacement side kit. So it's all set up for you guys to update your BnB Gen 2s as well. Okay guys, so we have our kit right here. We're doing the clear build today. Clear top, clear support for both the top and bottom. The all-important updated side panels, and they both have a support and a cover for the artwork. I have all my parts over here. I have my PCB, my wiring, all my buttons right over here. These are all ready to go. What I would recommend is lay all this stuff out, guys. Plan your build, you know, make sure you have everything ready to go before you build it out. I also have my artwork sitting in the back over there. So I always start with the side panels because I feel like you just get that done and get it out of the way, and then you can kind of focus on the real meat and potatoes of the build, which is like the wiring, and that's going to be on the main panels. All right, guys, we are ready to put our sides together. We have the artwork for the sides. We have all the panels for the sides. We have the buttons for the sides, and we have our USB pass-through that we'll install as well. When you get your kit, it's definitely going to have some protection on these panels. This was the set that I used to do the demo photos for. All the protection is removed already. But when you get the kits, you know, they definitely will have some protection. It could be blue, it could be brown. Make sure that the protection is peeled off as you go along with the build. To install the artwork, you're going to just pop the artwork right on top of the panel, just like that, okay? And then you're gonna use one of the artwork cover panels and pop that right on top of there, okay? Very simple, just like that. And then you're gonna use one of the included screws. That's the bigger set of screws. You're gonna get that in the hardware pack. You can use like a wrench, or I have, you know, this little tool here with the right size for the bolts. But basically all you want to do is secure the bolt down. Okay, same thing, guys. We're going to overlay the artwork on top. Okay. Grab the cover and pop it right on top. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. We have our USB pass-through. This is the traditional Nutric in color black, and we also have a Buttercade SAS surround. So then we're gonna pop this right through the hole there, and you're gonna take the smaller set of screws that you get. The reason why USB-B is still really popular in the Fightstick scene is because it's very robust. USB-C, again, great option. You could just get the different versions. Whatever you want to do for your build, it's up to you. So this is what I was talking about for the updated V3 sides. You see the notches right there, and you also see the cover. So the notches allow for snap-in buttons. So the tabs will kind of lock into place on the top panel, but then these little notches allow for you to access the tabs later if you ever want to remove the buttons, for instance, or adjust them, or whatever the case may be. We're just going to overlay the artwork, overlay the clear panel, just like that. and we're gonna bolt it down. We're gonna pop these buttons in, and we want to thread it so that the notches line up with the tabs. Push all the buttons in. Okay, and you will see you have easy access to the tabs with the notches. We have finished all the side panels. We have the button sides, we have the USB side, and we have the front panel. This is all ready to go. I'm gonna park this on the side and continue the build. Moving on to the next phase of the project, we have the support panel, the top support panel, and the top cover. And we're doing a stickless build today. So you would have to install the joystick first if you had a joystick build, and that would go right here. Typically there'll be 4 sets of screws. Same situation, nuts and bolts, you just bolt the joystick down. And then we're gonna do the PCB next as well. And by the way, you can position this however you want, but it's really up to you guys. You don't have to use the mounting set. You can use like the adhesive feet that you sometimes get. They look like this, okay? These little adhesive feet. And for some reason, if you want to change the way you want your orientation of the board, you could just pop these in and adhere it right to this. The location of the holes may change based on the layout, but you should get a set of mounting holes right over here. And then we're just gonna simply bolt it down with the included nuts that come with the kit. Okay, so I have the PCB mounted right over here. See that? Being that's clear top, you can see right through it. Okay, so on the site you'll have options for printing and cutting, right? You have the top, you have the bottom, you have the sides, but here's some secret tech I want to show everybody. This right here is the border. This is typically used for people who want to show off their wire work for the bottom. You could use it for that reason, right? But you could also use it to create artwork that's facing up and down from the panels. So I'm gonna take this border cut, window cut artwork, right? And I'm gonna use it on the top panel. Then you put the artwork on top. Standard artwork on top. On the bottom, you'll see it face out. Okay? So that when it's sitting flat, like you don't see any white paper. Now we're gonna overlay our top panel just like that, and we want to give it a little alignment, you know, slap it on the table for some alignment. We're gonna pop in the standoffs. Okay, again, number 6 screw, the bigger number 6 screw that you get with the kit. So we've tightened in all the standoffs, guys. You see that? By the way, I recommend that you don't fully tighten these right now, just finger tighten them. Just for the moment. And you don't even need any tools at the moment, just literally finger tighten it. And I would leave the final tightening for the last steps. Next up, guys, we're gonna pop the buttons in. So this is the main artwork that I have, and here's the template that it's on right before we got this printed, right? So I have my artwork installed on clear buttons as well. So I want to have this as a reference so that when I install the buttons, I know exactly how to place them. One of the newer features about the BnB Gen 3 is that you can also use snap buttons. So before I put in the screw-in buttons, we're gonna pop in this snap-in button to show you guys. See that? So it's firmly into place right there. Again, snap-in buttons do work, but for this build, we are just gonna use screw-in buttons. All right, we're gonna line this up with the artwork. I'm gonna try my best, get this in. And we're just gonna rinse and repeat and install all the buttons in the right placement. Okay guys, we have installed the last button, just like that. And so far, this is how we're looking. We have the artwork showing through inside, the buttons looking really cool. And we're gonna start wiring this up. We're gonna use a 20-pin harness. We're gonna use the 4-pin harness, and we're also gonna use a all-button conversion cable because we're not using a joystick today. So we're gonna just change the inputs into buttons. It's hard to see in the camera, but these are labeled. Basically 1 to 20, it's a 20-pin. The number 1 side, that's where you want to put the joystick. It's probably the most common mistake that people make is that they plug in this 20-pin harness the opposite direction. And I figured since I'm doing a tutorial video today, I just tell you guys, always make sure the joystick side, which has the connector, right? And then you can see it, it's basically aligned with like one side, okay? And that's number 1. So you want to plug that into where it says 1 versus 20. On Focus Attack's website, you could find this 20-pin to harness plus 4-pin harness guide by the homie Joey. Shout out to the homie Joey at Focus Attack. And he made this really handy guide, and more importantly, this little diagram that you can use to wire up your stick. So remember I showed you port number 1 is where the joystick would go, or the motions would go, and it lines up right over here. Your cable, all the wires are also appropriately colored with the same colorway that is on the screen. So I'm just gonna go ahead and wire this up as is. Okay, so if you were doing a joystick build, right, this would connect to the connectors of the joystick here. So you would plug that in here, and if this joystick was installed, I'd just pop that in right here. But since we're doing a stickless build, okay, we're gonna use this converter to just change this 5-pin into a traditional button harness. So we're gonna plug that in right over here, and you really can't mess this up because they're all color coordinated. So just make sure all the colors match. So black is ground, you know, green, yellow, orange, and red. Make sure they exactly line up to the way they look like right over here. So we're gonna go ahead and wire up the motions first. Again, use that guide that I showed you guys. My best advice is just start with the grounds first, because every button needs a signal and a ground. Yeah, grounds are usually represented by these black cables right over here, okay? And you'll see everything else is colored. Take your time, guys. It doesn't take a lot of force to install wires, but just go very carefully. Push them in until you hear like a firm snap, and that's it. If you push too hard, you might bend the terminal, which is no good either. Right is green, orange is up, yellow is left, and red is down. So now that I have the grounds plugged in, I'm just gonna go ahead and use these colors to connect the directional buttons. A lot of people also mess this up. Because you're working upside down, make sure that you're plugging in left and right accordingly. So because this is upside down, this button looks like it's left, but it's actually the right. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug in the green one to this guy right here, which represents right on the screen, right? This is right. I'm gonna plug in left just to not get confused, which is yellow. Then I'm gonna plug in down, which is red, okay? And then orange is up. Nice. So that's it. We've plugged in all our directions, and we should be able to move our character when we get this connected to a game. Okay, guys, next up, we are going to wire up the grounds for the main inputs, okay? Again, every button gets a ground, which is represented in black, and every button also gets an input, which is the colored wires that you'd see on these kits. Okay, that's all the grounds. I'm gonna go ahead and wire up the punches first. It's much easier if you think about it in punches and kicks versus the PlayStation or Xbox inputs while you're building. So again, blue, red, gray, purple. Keep in mind, this is upside down, so one punch is all the way to the right, you know? If this was right side up, one punch is to the left. So just keep that in mind. So I'm gonna plug all these in. Blue first for 1 punch, red for 2 punch, gray for 3 punch, and finally purple for 4 punch. Also, I don't know if you guys know this, I can show you guys with the kicks, but they are also in length order. That's 1 kick. The second longest one is 2 kick, 3 kick, and 4 kick, just by the length. So you can go by the color guide that I've been showing you, or you could just simply go by the length. So that's 1, 2 kick, green is 3 kick, this final black cable is 4 kick. Next up, we're gonna connect one of the side panels, and that's gonna have home, start, and select, or we're gonna speak in PlayStation terms, it would be PlayStation, options, and share. Okay, same situation, we're gonna plug in all the grounds first, again represented as the black wires. Gray is home, white is start, and I'm gonna put that in the middle. Red wire I'm gonna map to share down here. Boom. Okay, just like that. I'm just gonna click this in place temporarily, okay? We're gonna take our 4-pin cable. Gonna handle touchpad, L3, and the R3 presses, okay? Ground is on one side, represented again by black. Now, If you go to the other side, this is touchpad, okay? And then it's L3 and R3. So I'm gonna plug that in to where it's designated on the Brook board. Now, depending on what board you use, it could be a different spot. I just learned on the 5X board, it's the third slot over. If you guys are curious, if you're gonna use the same exact build, but you'll see it right here. It's the third slot over. Okay, 3 grounds are connected. I don't know why they always add an extra ground. Maybe it's to reach another ground point. It's cool. You could just leave it as is, let it hang there, but I'm gonna be a little neat and slice it off because I don't really need it. So I'm just gonna clip that off. But you could just let it hang. You could zip tie it down later, but I don't need it, so I'm just gonna clip it off. Green is touchpad. I'm gonna put that right in the middle here. So I like touchpad press in the middle. Okay. Next up, I'm gonna plug in L3. Now L3 is the pink one, and I like that on the top button here. So I'm gonna plug that in. It's up to you guys where you want to put this stuff, but just keep in mind what colors represent what. And then the blue cable is R3, and I'm gonna put that on the last button. We have the sides plugged in, and I put a little bit of tension when I zip tied all this together so that the sides kind of stay put. So we have our USB internal cable, and we're gonna plug this into the PCB. Okay, that's connected there. See that? It's kind of hard to see, but I just connected the cable right there. Then we're gonna just snake this around and plug it in to the USB-B panel. I'm gonna show you guys a little trick on how I get this to kind of fit together as easily as possible. So you're gonna see the notches on both the support panel as well as the sides. Kind of hard to see, but there is an indentation here, and there's an adjacent piece on the side panel. You want to line up the USB panel side where it's designated, typically closer to the joystick, okay? And what I do is I just kind of grab the side like that, I pick it up, okay? And I pop in the long piece there and slide it into the slot, okay? And then the other side, I just lift up slowly, and boom. It's in there. See that? Okay, we're gonna plug this in. Next step is we're gonna pop on the front panel. Okay, same situation. I lift up one side, get that squared away. Okay, lift up the other side slowly, and just drop it right in, just like that. So we're gonna pop on the bottom support panel. You wanna just line up the tabs. Take your time, no need to rush, no need to put excessive pressure. You never want to do that. Okay, just lay it down till everything lines up, lightly wiggle it. Okay, next up we're gonna put the border cut first, right? Because that's gonna face up. So if you were doing the traditional border cut, this is how it would look, right? Actually, let me flip it over. It would look like this, and then you could see inside and see your cool wires. Okay, if you did like a fancy wire job or LEDs, whatever, you know, that's why you could get the border cut artwork. But I'm using it for a different reason. I'm using it so that you don't see a gap in the artwork. You don't see the white edges of the artwork when you look at it from the top view. Then I have the bottom artwork along with the top cover. And I'm gonna pop that right on top. Last set of hardware is you're gonna get 4 feet along with the adjacent screws that lock it down. Take a screwdriver. Make sure that all the top screws are now tight. Flip it over. Do a final tightening on the bottom. You don't have to go really tight, just enough to where your screwdriver basically, you know, feels a little bit of pressure, and you just turn a little bit on that. You don't need a lot of pressure. And that's it. We kind of put together our stick, but you see how we did the border cut? Nice, right? So you don't see any gaps, so you don't see any like white paper. We're gonna update the board. Now, depending on what board you use, you may have a different method, but we're gonna do a Brook update. This is a great example, actually. So the version of the board that I had was version 1.1. They've already released 1.31. So I'm really glad I did this. I'm gonna go and hit update to the board. All right, we got the green check mark. That means the firmware has been successfully updated. I'm gonna hit confirm. So we're using hardwaretester.com/gamepad to test the inputs of the stick to make sure everything's right. Left is working, down is working, right is working, up is working. Perfect. That's all the directions. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. That's working. L3, touchpad, R3 working. Home, start, share is working. So I can validate that everything should work. Okay guys, we're in Street Fighter 6. Gonna do a quick real live test, make sure everything's working. All right, we did our test combo. Everything looking crispy, looking done. All right guys, we have completed the BnB V3 build. Check it out, check it out. We have all the new upgrades for BnB V3, including artwork on the sides, a little bit easier construction, ability to add snap-in buttons on both the top and the sides. And remember, this is all compatible with the BnB V2. Thank you again for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us at Focus Attack. Again, focusattack.com to pick this up. Follow me also at jonyfraze on all major social media platforms. Other than that, I will see you guys on the flip side. Thanks again, and happy building, guys. Peace.